Team, family, welcome back. It's been a minute. Dan, Abigail, Chad, Gustavo. What a crew. What a crew. What a moment from me. So there, I just want to share this with you all. There's a few things I mark on the calendar every year. One's Thanksgiving because I love Thanksgiving for just being able to see family. It's an excuse. It's a justification with you when we ignored and escaped certain family members all year to go see them again. There's my wife's birthday. Again, I try to make a grandiose event. And then there's this crew. There's this time where there's at least one time a year we're going to come together. We're going to catch up. And what makes this special and unique is that what we're doing hasn't been done before with the workshop. It's a lot of people when we highlight alumni in the community for the workshop. It's hey, here they are after the workshop, and here's some incredible things of what they're doing for the community and for the world that comes in and listens to this podcast. They got to know y'all before you even went. They got to see your perspective of what you expected from the workshop and your experience, and almost too, and sharing sort of what you want to do on your path forward. And so, as we come back every year, what time capsule for us to just catch up and let life play out and come here and just share. And so, Abigail, what a interesting year. I won't get into, I'll let you share that. So can you share with us, where are you now and what are you currently doing in the photo world?
So yeah, I am a recent graduate of the Fashion Institute of Technology, and currently I'm working at Splashlight Studios, which is a photo studio here in New York City. So yeah, this past year, like I'm so thankful and grateful for all the opportunities I've had, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot since the Eddie Adams
Mm-hmm.
workshop, and I'm just so like sometimes I have to remind myself to like take a minute and be proud of what I have accomplished and not just be so focused on, okay, what do I need to do next?
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of like take that moment to be like reflective a little bit, which has kind of been what this summer has been for me. Like that gap between, okay, I graduated school, which I've done my whole life. So it's like, what's next?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, where to start, I guess.
No, it's so for my question for you is because there's going to be a lot of like the 100 students that are going to be going to the workshop there this year. I guarantee are going to be like honed in on this episode because they're going to ask themselves, yeah, I'm gonna get through this experience, and maybe they've listened to the other episodes of our conversations, but it's like, what does a year later look like? And a lot of them are going to be students, right? And some of them are going to still, and they might be juniors this year, but some of them are going to be seniors, and you're going to be able to sort of give them a peek behind the curtain of a mindset of how they can navigate of what success could look like, right? And
Yeah.
so for you, you started out your 2024 as a student, and
Yeah.
I guarantee you were like trying to tool and get in the mindset like what's the next step, like how does that look, and psychologically how do I like manage that stress and anxiety to stay in it. And so it's a two-parter. So what was it you were thinking that what was that like, and then now you being on the other side of that, did it, did it pair up, or were you just completely off and then you've had to readapt to like the reality of the situation you're in now?
So yeah, I think like well, to start, I guess right after the workshop, like kind of starting the new year, I still had a lot of that confidence and like drive to be like, yes, I wanted like just so much, I don't know, still that creative energy coming
Mm-hmm.
from being at the workshop all together really kind of propelled me into the new year. And also, I actually won a grant with the
Right,
project.
yeah.
Yeah, with the project that I got into the Eddie Adams workshop with. So I feel like that really showed me, like, wow, other people do see value in my work and showed me kind of like the potential that I could go for and continue on with. So that was kind of like the start. And I was like, I need to keep up this energy because I know in a few months I'm going to be graduated and be out in the real world. So I'm going to need to remember this. But I do have to say, going into the real world, it wasn't like a shock, but it was different. It's like, okay, I do need to make a pivot. I can't just be like, look at my accomplishments. I need to actually not apply. I have been applying, but you know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
Apply the things I learned in school to real life. Like, how can I transition from knowing how to get good grades, studying, to finding a job and
A client who wants to
especially
pay money for my skill sets.
exactly, especially in the photography industry. So, what I ended up doing was thinking back to advice from people I've met, especially at the Eddie Adams workshop, Dan Winters,
All
actually.
right.
He,
Nice.
yeah, like he told us, I can't remember exactly like word for word, but he told us just talking about how different it is now compared to back when he was first entering the industry and how you drop your portfolio off in person with all your images and then pick it back up, or that's how you'd apply for these types of things. So to get my job I have now, I ended up just going in person, old school style, dropping off
Hmm.
my resume and saying, hey, like, I'm looking for a job right now, are you hiring? And the only interviews I ever got back or heard back from or got was from doing that and going in person. So, yeah, it was kind of an interesting journey to get through.
Yeah.
I hope I answered the question,
You
but
did.
it's
No, you did. I'm sorry, I
it's a
didn't mean to
very
cut you off. Yeah, so it's
mhm.
I love that, and I hope and I appreciate you sharing that, right? Because if it's you're sharing something that if it's been like a huge pivotal part of a successful transition, and like if everyone else was doing that, it would be more competitive for you to look for those opportunities. But the fact that you're willing to even share those right now is going to open the door for someone to explore that too. And for you not to hold that to your chest, it shows that, again, the team that we have here, the family, the community we have here, to share something to help someone help themselves create a more successful path is awesome. It's incredible. It's a testament to the people that we have. Chad, I'm excited to catch up with you. I know you're our family podcast award winner from the workshop for, I think, was it Most Handsome? Is that what it was?
That
If I
was it.
yeah. But yeah, fill us in. Like what has Chad been up to? Like where are you at, which I'm sure we can all guess. And but what are you doing in the photography world today?
Yeah, so I'm still doing quite a bit of commercial work. So I have some of my regular clients, and I've been, as like everyone else, just trying to build my client base and get regular work. It's tough as a freelancer, especially in a small market like Trinidad, where everyone with a camera is a photographer, and you really have to
Mm-hmm.
show what is different, and you really have to show what is the value you're adding when you make a proposal, or when you do a job with a new client, and get them to understand that it's not just about pulling out a camera and pressing the shutter. It's about finding these stories, about being creative. It's been about finding solutions on the job site. It's all the prep work that goes into it, all the post work go into it, all the
Right.
business side of it. The communication, the
Yeah.
emails, the being professional. So that's been going on. But this year, I would say since the workshop, what I've found is that I've been able to carve out bits of time to work on some more personal projects, and it's something that I was struggling to do before the workshop. But I guess just hearing people talk, and again, similar to
Mm-hmm.
Abigail, like from some of the feedback I got when I was doing my portfolio review. Um, they were, people encouraged me to, find time to work on personal projects, find time to play, find time to experiment. So I've been working on a couple personal projects in that regard.
Can you share? Can you give us a peek behind the
Yeah,
curtain?
sure.
Was what some of those are?
So one of them is, when I was quite young, when I was 4 years old, my dad was lost in a diving accident, and they never recovered his body. And so, I mean, we grew up with that. I mean, it's not a trauma I'm I live with all the time. But
Hmm.
recently, it kind of came up that someone who knew him was chatting, and I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to do a bit of a documentary, a short documentary on his story, people who knew him, because I mean he would have been 83 if he was still alive. So people in that age bracket, some of them have passed on, some of them are forgetting, you know. So I've been trying to meet with people who either were close to him, or there's actually a couple of people who were with him that day on the boat. So I was lucky enough
Oh
to
wow.
meet with some of them and hear a first-hand account from them on, what happened, what were their thoughts on it,
Hmm.
how it affected them. So that's one thing I've been working on. So it's really a personal project, but I mean, it's actually more video than photography, but it's interesting. It's been challenging me creatively, challenging me um, organizational wise. Trying to organize,
Right.
get people on set and set up lights, and and
Yeah.
it's not
So
always the
I
best
have a question
locations.
about that.
Yeah,
Right, I
sure.
have a question about that. So for you, because this is like the critical thinking approach going into this, especially for like a project like that. How do you navigate? Because I know you said it like it's not something like at least how I received it, like it's this burden on you to where it's emotionally going to like burden you down, but it's still like something that impacts your life. And have you found yourself having to like critically think and like when speaking to people and setting up certain scenarios when telling this story for this project, or has it been fairly easy for you to navigate?
It's been I mean, at least in my mind, it's been fairly easy to navigate. Um, I'm working on it with my brother, so he's been doing the interview part of it while I'm doing the creative part. Um, and in chatting with him before that, we really, there's really no closure to the story. There's no right and there's no wrong. I think in the onset we've kind of agreed that it's really just people's retelling of to their best recollection of what happened that day. Um, no one will ever know what happened for sure. You know, so it's a lot of people's speculation. It's just different people's opinions. What I'm finding interesting though is that there's a central storyline that most people have of the events. But everyone I talk to, they add a little personal tidbit
Hmm.
or little fact that not necessarily that I've ever heard before, or that not necessarily something that other people mention. So it's quite interesting because those, I think, to me, the central story, we grew up hearing it, we kind of
Yeah.
know the gist of it, but it's just those little bits of personal insight from different people on what happened that day. And it's just small things. Like one of the guys who was there that day, he remembered the reaction of someone on the boat. He's just like slamming his hand against the gunnel of the boat and going, damn, 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 and it's just a simple thing like that. And then another person, in my mind growing up, I always picture the water dark and stormy, because I guess because associated with
Hmm.
what the trauma of what happened.
Right.
And one of the guys said, when they stopped, it was a beautiful day, and the visibility in the water was like 100 feet. So it completely changed the way I had that scenario in my mind. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So
So
there's a lot of little things that are coming out that are different from um, what you kind of have built up in your mind, in your mind's eye.
I believe it. I love it. Thank you for all of that. And yeah, I mean, Gustavo, my man. I mean, definitely keeping me up to date on the weekly, with his assignments and the DMs. I love it. It's something that brings a smile to my face when I get an update on a weekend assignment from you. And it just, yeah, it's one of those things that I get. It's why I stick around and do what I do with the workshop. So, can you share with us all where are you now and what are you doing in the photography world?
Yeah, well, last year, I think I told you this, to you guys this. I was trying to tell good stories about my country. Usually when the news cycle around my country is usually goes towards the bad things that are happening here, which are happening. Uh, but I wanted to tell like the good things are actually happening as well. I mean, it's not just only the bad side, So I managed to put myself out there and start to find a way to finance a project about stories of regular people that are living here in Venezuela and trying to do their best. And I managed to find funds for that. Initially as a documentary project, a series of 12 short documentaries, but uh, I'm essentially a photographer first, and I always carry my camera. There's no way I can leave my camera behind. So I always took pictures and took pictures of all the stories I've been gathering through this time. And well, recently they say they wanted to do a book uh, about the stories, and luckily I had the pictures to fill the book. So that's very exciting. So they're working on that. Well, we are working on that, on telling those stories and translate them from the visual documentary film style to the well narrative of as a written piece, but mostly with much more importance of the pictures. So that's great, and it's gonna be hopefully by the end of the year will be ready, uh, and I'm very excited about it. It's very
That
good,
is, that's
and I
incredible.
think it's the
That's
first time
right.
I say it out loud. I mean,
No, yeah, I'm saying it's news to me. You show me a lot of work, a lot of things you're doing, and you have yet once to bring up bug. I think it's strategic because I mean, with it being on the podcast, a lot of people are going to hear it. I know they're going to look out for it now. And my question for you, because it's like that's a different process, right? That's a different
yeah.
thinking, especially when it comes to communicating with our visuals. What have you learned with like that process of what you just shared with us and to taking that back into how like you cover like if, a day-to-day assignment or if you were to get like a one-off assignment from a producer or a publication.
Well, I think the good thing is that I'm telling the stories that I want to tell. It's not telling the story as someone is hiring me to tell the story, because that
Mm-hmm.
will be a different approach. I have to uh, when someone hires you to take pictures of to tell the story, then you have to translate whatever they want to tell uh, into the images and trying to match and hopefully match whatever they want. So I think maybe you're a little bit more insecure when you do that type of work because you don't know if you're actually connected to this person, because maybe what you interpret from what they tell you they want is not actually what they want. Uh, so I think when someone hires me, I shoot more. I'm in a way that I could like do a, a wider coverage of whatever I'm doing. Uh, but when I'm doing something that I want, a story I want to tell,
Mm-hmm.
it's for me it's easier because I know what I want to tell. And in a way, the process will be like in my mind. I have it all together. Like
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
I don't. I
I,
want to tell you right now, I don't have it together. Gustavo,
in
I
your mind.
envy
No, no, no. But
you.
no, but I mean,
Yeah.
when I'm trying to when I'm doing when I'm telling the story that I want to tell,
Hmm.
then for me it's easier because I know how I would want it to look like, and I know how edgy can I could be, and
Right.
how different I could be. But whereas when you're working for someone else, then you sometimes you have to be more classic or more the
Hmm.
approach will be more classic.
Right. Hmm.
Uh, so in a way, I think that's how I can explain or
Yeah.
yeah, explain of
So I'm,
how the difference for me.
yeah. Yeah, no, well, I can, like, I appreciate that, and again, I admire that because I feel like for me, I would be potentially harder on myself on the personal project, like when, especially when it would come back to reviewing the images and the moments, and because I know it's the human side of me. There's this grandiose vision I could have, and then even in front of me, there could be this incredible moment that fits something that I would really want to capture, and then sometimes, whether it's the connection from the heart to the fingertip, like, I miss that. And so I can be more critical on myself when maybe, my peer or Benny, Benny from the workshop sees it and he's like, it's a great image. But for me, maybe I'm a glutton for punishment for myself. And so I admire that with you, and I need you to package that up and bring it this year, and I'm gonna take it back with me when I come home, and I'm gonna sprinkle it out through the rest of my 2024 going into 2025. And so for my next question, again, we can start with Dan. Is like we're essentially a year out from when we were all last at the workshop, and there is this big sense that I know I push, especially on social media, with a sense of community and a benefit of being a part of this workshop and community, not just while you're at the workshop, but after it. And I know that can come in many different shapes and forms for everyone as their paths lead away from the barn and down our paths in life. And so, for Dan, so it's a year away now. Is there still an aspect of the workshop and this experience that is still useful to you today, or is it really, or is it potentially just your experience there is what you hold into helping you navigate decisions you have now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I mean, really, most of what the Eddie Adams workshop has given me recently is helping the new participants with their applications. um, they're like, "Oh, is this story good?" I'm like, "Yeah, probably."
Bro.
But no, seriously though, I mean, I think like I think it's hard to say at this moment exactly how the workshop is has carried with me in terms of like my growth through this job. But
Right.
what I have done or have been able to realize is that I always look back at that time where I'm surrounded by all of those people who are just so talented and creatively distinct, and just like every time that I don't know where I'm going with my work, I always look back. I'm like, what would like what would my squad do? Uh, like if I was back at the Eddie Adams workshop, like for example, what would Chad do? um,
Right.
I mean, what would Abigail do? What would Gustavo do in this situation? And it's like whenever I'm feeling creatively out of touch, I like, I think back to the talks that we had with all of the faculty and the staff. But I think the thing that really keeps me motivated is that, like, sometimes I don't feel like I'm doing my best work all the time in this job, just because I'm experiencing so many new things at once that it's hard to stay on top of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes get lost in um, that criticism of myself in some of my work. And I always look back and I'm like, oh wow, like there's a point in my life where I was at the Eddie Adams workshop, so I'm at least doing something right.
Right.
And I try to keep looking back at that time and have that push me to continue getting better and not um, stay stagnant in where I am. So I feel like that's the biggest benefit of all, is just knowing that it's there to back me up whenever I need it.
I love it. That's a powerful perspective. And like I appreciate you sharing that because like the Eddie Adams workshop for all of us means something different. And it's something that I don't want to over exaggerate or over glorify. Is like it's not your identity. Like you like the Eddie Adams workshop does not like when we went there doesn't identify you who you are as a professional in this path, that it's challenging for all of us in different ways. And we're all walking our path to where we're, whether it's creativity or finding an employer or feeling, where's our passion going within this? Is that sucked out of us, and how do we find that again? Like there's all these different things that we're gonna have to navigate, and sometimes all at the same time. And for you to look at it and be able to reflect and retool your mindset into pushing forward and feeling like again you're on the path that you deserve to be on, that you're you want to continue to grow and pursue. That's I love it. So but Abigail, can you share your thoughts and opinions on, do you feel like there is that the workshop experience is still beneficial to you today, or again has that experience sort of, or that benefit sort of like stop when we all left the barn?
Yeah, for me, not to keep going on about what you guys were just discussing, but that was kind of the first thing that popped into my head when I heard that question, was just absolutely yes, because of the growth and just personal portfolio development I got. Like I find myself a lot just thinking back to the two nights of portfolio reviews and really like just analyzing like what was said to me, because I got a lot of harsh critique but also like some good compliments as well. So I'm like, okay, I want to focus on the harsh critique and why they thought that about the pictures, and how can I change that, and so, or try to see it through the way that they were seeing it and not just be like, oh, I love this photo. Like no,
Mm-hmm.
think of it as someone seeing it for the first time. So actually recently I just went through and kind of did like an Instagram purge and like archived a bunch of old photos that I've had similar feelings about. And something I realized, and I was told this back in the workshop too, not directly, but I I
Mm-hmm.
realized it from the portfolio review, was just I was putting too many images out. Like I need to be really a lot more selective with the
Mm-hmm.
photos that I'm doing, because the more photos I was giving, it's like okay, I had one or two really amazing ones, but because I had others, it
Watered
diminished it.
down. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was like a big thing that I still think about today. I'm like, okay, let's be kind of harsh on myself and be like, what is really the best photo from this? So, absolutely agree with all of that. And I think it has benefited me and just, again, given me that confidence to kind of go out and try to do things maybe I wouldn't have done before. Like, I don't know, like I got to do my first magazine cover for my student
Right.
run magazine at my
Crazy.
school.
It was, how
Yeah,
stressful was that?
that was, yeah, that was really just, it was stressful, but also it was such a good team of people that I worked with on it. So it was really just exciting. But I don't think I would have had the confidence to even think I could do something like that without going through those portfolio reviews or going through the workshop, and just getting that feedback from people and knowing kind of what to do and how to change my work
Hmm.
to make it for the better. So
Right, especially to fit like that, right? To fit a cover. Like it's different to have a double truck within it to like support something, but to have something that's designed specifically to be a cover on something takes a different kind of critical thinking to apply to where it's not just interchangeable. Like you can use, sure, but it's like if you're methodically thinking for that, for this, just like Dan Winters, like the Angelina Jolie B photo, like that's designed to be on the cover. That's not designed to like be a supporting element within a like large format story. And so I think, and what I want to share, at least from my 100 mile above optic view, I think your approach has worked because I think since at least what I've noticed, right, and I can just share from my perspective, since you've taken on going to the magazine, I think I've only seen like really two or three things from you, and every time I see that, I in my mind I was like, I see incredible growth. And maybe to you you're like it's been there the whole time. It's not growth, Griff. It's been there, but it's like but because of how you're applying it and putting your work out there, that it shows your vision and your style and the uniqueness to how you capture these things. Then it's effective. Because yeah, before, like a year ago, even then there was a lot more coming out and it wasn't bad. And and I think that was great feedback for you to receive, and to be humble enough to yourself, right? No one else followed up with you to do this thing. You applied it yourself, and the only thing you have to lose is time, but you're still going to learn something. And at least I don't know if y'all have noticed yourselves when it comes to her work, when it comes up there, but that's sort of my takeaway. So I think I think for me, it works, and you got me. And Chad, can you share from your perspective? Has the workshop experience, is it still like in the community? Is it still useful to you in your daily life now, or is it, again, another one of those things that it's more of a reflection, from your experience while you were there?
I think it's both. But more to your point, um, I mean, from a non-professional kind of point of view, I mean, the people that you met, so I've been in touch with a couple people, and we've been actually having conversations. Actually, tonight I cooked some spaghetti carbonara from a recipe that Alessandro Cristofoletti had said shared
Oh
with me.
wow,
So I mean, little things like
nice.
that. There's
Yeah, yeah,
still,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
still something connected to Eddie Adams, but maybe not necessarily
It fills your cup
photographically.
though.
Um, yeah. Also, to, um, I mean, I have been listening definitely to the Long Roll podcast and taking in some of the
Thank you.
amazing stories of some of the people.
It means a lot to me.
Just, yeah, for sure, for sure. It's my running slash cycling go
I
to
need to zone out and not think
go
about
to. Yeah.
anything.
No, no,
I
no,
need to
but
go
it's
to
good.
bed. I can need to
It's
go to it's time.
interesting.
I need to go to bed. I'm gonna put it on and be
Yeah.
zonked out in the first 5 minutes.
No, no, no. But so that, um, just keeping tabs on some people like my amazing team leader, Sarah Terry. I saw she was nominated as
Hmm.
Forbes 50 of 50.
Yeah. Talk about ridiculous,
Just
right?
amazing. So it's those little touch points, I think, still keep me connected to the community. I did help uh, one person who applied um, to the workshop this year to help them with their portfolio. Unfortunately, they didn't make the cut, but David, you're going to make it next year. So if you're listening to
You know.
this, shout out to David, amazing food photographer out in New York. Um, yeah, really. I mean, so those kind of touch points. I mean, not necessarily
Yeah.
directly impacting on
Mhm.
my photography day to day, but still drawing inspiration from the people, still tapped into the community. That WhatsApp group that we have, Gustavo is quite active on it. He's always sharing stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it.
I remember last sometime, I can't remember if I had mentioned this the last time we chatted, but a news agency in Holland had reached out to me about doing a story in Guyana, It didn't materialize, but I've never done a news story, so I jumped on the or WhatsApp group, and I was like, hey, what a press, or what is a day rate for someone doing a story, and right away I got like boom, 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 three, four, five answers,
Mm-hmm.
so it gave me that confidence to send a proposal to this news agency about, and not be completely too high or too low,
Right.
you know. So yeah, so I mean, I think there is definitely connection points and those points that keep us connected to the workshop.
I love it.
I
No,
was wearing my Eddie Adams T-shirt the other day, and at an event, and a photographer at the event saw me and was like, "Oh, you've been to that? I'm applying this year." And it's like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely apply." So yeah.
you all are great representatives and champions of the workshop, and so I think it's incredible. Dan, and I'm sure all of us, this year had an opportunity to help out potential applicants, or we know friends or peers who, may have at least been interested, and we're able to share something with them to reinforce, them having the confidence to apply, that there's value in it for them. And that's yeah, and it everyone path is different, just like with Cesar Rodriguez. I had to apply 5 or 6 times, and I know I always say it, one of the best photographers on the entire planet. I have, he gifted me a print this last year. It's hanging up in my living room. But if, for someone like him to apply 5 or 6 times, which is ridiculous, I will say insane, but to have that perseverance and to still be that talented, I had to apply more than once myself. Don't give up, and for you to help and give someone that encouragement and guidance to hopefully, second time's a charm. I can't make any promises, but maybe Yvonne and Miriam are listening, and they sprinkle a little dust on it, and they get in. But we know when there's hundreds, or 1,000 people applying, there's probably about half that are raw, right? Really not refined portfolios. But let's just say out of 800 portfolios, there's 200 great ones. Well, then, like, because I had a couple of people reach out to me, like on LinkedIn. They're like, hey, I'm an alternate. What could I have done better to make the 100? I'm like, at this point, if you're an alternate, like, it's almost like any contest itself, where it's the judge on the day is just going to choose one over the other, and it doesn't even necessarily mean it's actually better. It's just what they chose today. They could have chose the other one the next day, and it's so if you're like, I like, obviously I don't have the ability to know where everyone's at when they apply, but if you're doing great work and you're making that top percentage, outside of continuing to do great work and getting feedback and refining it by with your updated better work, you can't really do much else. And what we know, and like, we've been fortunate enough to be through the workshop, but just like you've all shared here, just because you go through the workshop, it doesn't define you. It's not doesn't dictate your success. It shouldn't be your North Star into validating your reason for continuing on this path. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of other ways to get involved in this community if you don't have the opportunity to attend. Victoria will. Right, she's never been. Actually got denied at the workshop, and now she's back as a helper and assistant. She's one of the best commercial photographers in North America. And then there's also Christina Mittermeier. Like, we had her on. Her and her husband got National Geographic's, top explorers. They have Sea Legacy. They have some of the biggest online digital social media presence out of all photographers on the planet, with millions of followers. And Christina has never had the opportunity to go to the workshop herself. And now potentially, she might come this next year, at some capacity, whether portfolio reviews or maybe be a team leader, maybe a speaker. But if these titans that are at the top of the industry now either got rejected or didn't have opportunities, obviously it didn't dictate their success. So, like, as we get rejected once or twice, or maybe to the point to where we just go forward, don't be disgruntled to the point to where you can't make it. I'll get off my soapbox, and Gustavo, will go to you. can you share, has that workshop, is it still useful in your day-to-day life now in the community, or the tools, or is, again, one of those things that's sort of just something that you reflect on in your experience that when we were all there back last October?
I think I mean, as you say, it's not something that defines you if you go or not go to the Eddie Adams workshop. But for me, was a great experience. I got rejected the first time, so I was very frustrated at that moment. But at the end, when we managed to get there, and I believe on Friday night, I believe it was Dan Winters who said something like there's 1,000 people that didn't make it today. So I mean, in a way, you should be proud, but you also have to be humble, because you have to honor in a way your spot there. And I think, well, I always go back the to the moment that we arrived at the farm that day, and everybody, I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody, but it was a great experience. Uh, but I do believe that going to the Adams workshop is still uh, is in a way is knowing that that someone will have your back. When you reach out to the community on the WhatsApp group, and I don't know, whatever question you have, like this type of equipment that I want to buy, or has anybody has someone who can help me to do a story in X or Y location. There's always someone who replies. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
is the WhatsApp group is not as active as some other groups, but it's not necessarily bad. It's like I saw a video the other time that there are friends that are like cactuses, and there are friends that are bonsai friends. The bonsai friends, you have to be uh, on top of them all the time, watering them, like chopping the leaves and stuff. But the cactus is there. You go on vacation, you come back a month later, and it's there. In a way, we are like that cactus group. We know we can go back whenever we want, uh, and everybody's gonna be willing to help. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, uh, because we know we can someone will have our back.
Mm-hmm.
And here at least in my country, there's not a lot of people uh, still that have gone to the Eddie Adams workshop. So and we know who is that have been there. So it's nice as well, even though we are not part of the same cohort. I mean, we didn't go the same year, but we know that we've been there, and we know that we share that experience of being there. And also, one one nice thing that I experienced is that when we were doing the portfolio reviews, that a lot of people reach out and say, "Okay, I'm willing to help someone for the portfolio review for applying," and I saw a lot of the of my peers from the Eddie Adams on the year that I went, and it was amazing to see everybody willing to help someone else, and it was great. I mean, I did a couple of portfolio reviews with some people. I believe only one of them applied, and he got in, and it was amazing. Like, oh, I was so happy for
Yeah.
him, and I because when you gave the results, it was like if I was applying. It was like I want to look for his name.
A proud papa. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was very excited. I mean, he's an amazing photographer, and I told him it's all you. I mean, I just help you sort the material
Mm-hmm.
out. I mean, it's all you. It's not, and I think it's good that you can try to help people, and that you always have this sense of part of being part of this community, these cactus communities, as I said,
I love it.
and
I love you.
yeah,
So many gems. So many gems. So, well, I guess, and so, because I know I've had y'all here for an hour, and I really want to respect your time, because it is, depending where you're in the world. I know for us on the East Coast in America, it's later, and uh, I want to say, I know Chad knows this. I know, and I think Dan, I know collectively everyone from the workshop, you'll hear I know, from Sarah Terry, especially this last episode, they don't care, at the workshop when it comes down to how talented you are. They care, they give a shit if you're a good person. If you're a good person, that is what I know that we really try to enforce when people come there, because everyone that's there, all 100 people that are there are talented, right? That's not a debate that to have in the room. Yeah, you can have an editor, you can have a hard editor, a producer, or whoever look at your stuff on portfolio review night. But at the end of the day, like, your stuff is good. You're there. You beat out a lot of people for this opportunity to sit down in this seat and have the opportunity to connect with someone. What's going to define your value of staying connected with this opportunity to have this cactus community, which we're gonna put that on a t-shirt, is how good of a person you are. If you're a dick, if you're in an area, if you get, I understand getting defensive, right? Especially if you've never sat down in a portfolio review. Like, even my first one, because I was like, you don't know how to respond. And then naturally, for a lot of us, we may get defensive and argumentative, and that's not the intent. A lot of times we feel bad when we walk away or embarrassed. But the key to stay connected, to see value in this, is if you can just be open the door, help. If you see someone struggling, don't just watch from afar and observe. Like, go and help them out. And these are things that are observed within the community, to where I know, like, at any point in time, when it's possible, like, the four of y'all are easily like black team material. I know we have some of y'all coming back for black team, and then some, I know there's going to be opportunities in the future. It's hard because so many people put in, and there has to be this rotation. But the four of y'all of what we have here are just incredible human beings, and I hope that that's a message that students and future applicants can take away at a minimum from these conversations, to where you can help navigate what success can be, to maintain seeing the value in this community, seeing the value from this workshop. And so I have one more question for y'all, because again, we've been here an hour, and I have 1,000 more, but I already know it's late. And I'll leave it to just y'all, and then we'll just sort of pass the baton off to the next person. But if you can just share one quick tip, one advice for a student that's listening to this podcast right now, that's going to the workshop this year, if you can give one piece of advice, right? We talked at the beginning before you even went, and then we talked after you came back from the workshop, and we're a year later. And so you have this insight that they're just, back over a year ago when we all chatted. Can you, Dan, share one piece of advice? Or do you want me to come back to you?
You always got to start with me.
I do, because I love it. I love your smile, and I love the look you give me, and it just, and that's what I can't not.
The connections that I made there are maybe the most significant thing from that workshop up until now. Like, I'm not just talking about people who you met that you think you could get a gig from or an assignment from. Like, I'm talking about, like, the friends that I made, and, like, I still talk to my roommate Ming Connors. I kind of knew Ming a little bit prior to the workshop, but I've never met him before. And we just, like, almost instantly became really good friends, and, like, that relationship for me has been really valuable in being able to express things that I've had troubles with, this past year, being able to talk it through with someone who I know probably goes through the same struggles. And so I think, really, like, the best thing is to make at least one good friend at the workshop, because, like a fraternity, I was
Mm-hmm.
never in a fraternity, I don't know, but
Well, now you are.
like a fraternity, you go through the same things together,
No
and
hazing.
you
There's no
know,
hazing in
no hazing, no hazing.
the.
It's just it's one weekend of just like no sleep, lots of great talks, great people, and you know, it's
Yeah,
just
and
nice to
again,
have that connection.
the no sleep is not hazing. For everyone out there listening,
No,
it's
that's a
late. It's a
choice.
lot of mentor. Yeah, I'm just kidding, but no, I love it. And I'll just say, if someone needs a friend and they're not quite sure, you see me there. You see social media Griff running around. I'll be your friend. I'll be your friend. I can use a friend. Abigail, can you share one tip, one thing of advice for a student going into this year's workshop?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing of advice for like while you're there is to not compare yourself to other people, especially with the assignments you get, because we all are under different pressures. Some people have to get up super early for their assignment, some people it's just like not working out because of other situations. Like the work you produce there doesn't like define your whole career or how good of a photographer you are. It's more about the experience, which I feel like has been said a lot by other people. But that's one of my biggest tips, and just to remember to soak it all in, even if there's like a negative experience, like you're not happy with the photos, like still try to learn from that and just yeah, be happy that you're there, be confident, but don't be arrogant. Just be humble and make lots of friends. And yeah.
I love it. No, awesome, perfect, Chad.
Yeah, I'll go back to one that I remember someone talking about, from way long before as we got there. Um, leave your egos at the door, leave your egos in the parking lot. Um, it's not about who's the best and who is better than who. Be present in the moment. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you're nervous and it's new, and there's a whole bunch of people, and you're sitting in the room with Dan Winters and these amazing photographers, and but be present. Try to soak all that stuff in, but also be
Mm-hmm.
present and absorb. Be open to the advice people are giving you. Sometimes it's hard. The reviews are tricky. It's many of us haven't done reviews before, um, but know that the people who are giving you the feedback are doing it from the best possible place. I think so. Be open. Sometimes it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's how we learn. I think take it and you unpack it yourself, right? Um, they could be wrong. Not necessarily just because they said something mean they're absolutely right, but you take the advice and analyze it for yourself and see if what they're telling you resonates with you, if it makes sense, if you think it's good advice. And yeah, definitely make friends and network with people both from a professional level, but also from just a human level of getting to know all these amazing people in the field that you're in. Yeah.
I love it. Perfect. And Gustavo.
Yes, I think well, be nice. It will be like
Yes.
the the main advice. Be nice with your peers. Be nice with the people that are there at the farm helping you, giving their time for you to help you. Uh, uh, Also try to not only be stuck to your team, your purple team. Hey, purple team, I was purple team.
Right.
Uh,
Marvin
Try
Joseph.
to
Right.
try to yeah with Marvin. Try to meet some other people from outside your rim. It will be very nice. Bring some physical business card to give to some people because there are a lot of people that you are not going to be able to meet. It's going to be over in a second, in the blink of an eye. It's going to be over, and you're going to start missing. On that Monday, you're going to start missing the whole experience. And you're going to be sleep deprived, and it doesn't matter. You're going to start missing, like feeling, having mofo,
FOMO. Yeah, yeah.
FOMO, yeah, FOMO. You're gonna start having FOMO on Monday, and it's not over yet. And I think one of the best parts for me was watching the editing process from Marvin and Jesse. Uh, for me, it was amazing to see things that for me was at the beginning was imperceptible that I couldn't notice, but they were so amazing. Like, okay, this and that, and they were doing like so fast and taking decisions so fast because they knew they were on a time frame, and it was amazing to learn from them. Not only seeing them looking at my stuff, but looking at everybody's stuff. I mean, don't waste your time wandering around the farm because it's a very nice place to wander around. Uh, be there, be present, and try to suck in as much information as
Hmm.
possible
I love
because
it.
it's
Yep.
worth it.
100%. And my tip will be to pack for rain, for cold, for hot, for muddy, for not muddy. And I'll just share this as a reminder for I don't think y'all remember. It was cloudy. It was cloudy all week. It was cloudy until y'all pulled up to walk up to the barn. And all of a sudden, the clouds cleared, the sun came out. It was, and we're sitting there like the visuals, the video of this is gonna look like dog shit because it's gray out here. And then what? And here, it's no pressure, no pressure to this incoming class. But the same thing happened the year before. And so it was like the last year and the year before, cloudy all day, 2 days, like 2 days leading up to it, right until you get there. And y'all, like, Leah is there kicking off the music. Y'all are walking up. The sun hits our face. It feels warm. Crazy. I don't know what that means, but special. But also, too, just like within minutes, the weather changed. Plan and pack accordingly. Um, so, again, y'all are
I
amazing. Go ahead.
I just have to give a shout out to my editor Denise Keenan
Mm-hmm.
because um, through
Team
the
tie
rush
dye.
of yeah, team China, through the rush of anxiety, like regarding the workshop, I like left my house without any of my jackets, and I was completely unprepared for the rain. And she went out and bought me like a little like plastic rain poncho,
Nice.
and yeah, I owe her so much
Yeah, it's
for my
love. It's
efforts.
just the love, and that's a reflection. And
Mhm.
I love it. And again, we've been here, an hour, 17 minutes now. Um, I really loved this evening. I really loved our conversation. Thank you for catching me up. Thank you for catching us up, the community, those who've been following for a year. Again, I definitely want to sit down with everyone again, before a year from now. And I think that's definitely going to happen. But thank you all today. Thank you for sharing. I know the students this year and future students and applicants that listen to this are going to benefit greatly from your experiences and advice that you've shared here today. Y'all are incredible human beings. And as we know, that's the foundation of the kind of people that we need at this workshop. Talent's not an issue because we're all incredibly talented. But it's just your willingness to share and help others grow and learn from our mistakes and trials and errors so they don't do the same thing. It's a beautiful thing. The older I get, I admire it even more. Like Gustavo says, I'm going to smile. I'm going to smile. I'm going to tend to this cactus. And I know we'll see each other soon. And outside of that, you'll have a great evening. Thank you again. And you'll be hearing from me soon.
Thank you, Griff. Good to see you guys.